And speaking of Ronald D. Moore, I don't know if you heard this, but I was reading this the other day. Did you hear the thing about Ronald D. Moore possibly erasing Star Trek Voyager out of existence in his... I guess he's a producer, showrunner, something on the show For All Mankind.
Okay.
Which takes place in an alternate universe where the Soviets were the first to land on the moon. I don't know if you're familiar with the show.
No, I'm not familiar with that.
I've heard lots of stuff that it's good, but I've never seen it. But apparently there's a scene that takes place in the alternate year, like 2003, where someone talks about how much they love Star Trek and says they love all 3 Star Trek shows. Which, by that point, like, I think Voyager and Enterprise should exist. And so a lot of people theorize that because Ronald D. Moore apparently famously really does not like Brannon Braga, who is, I guess, like, he was, like, Voyager was kind of his thing, that this was Ronald D. Moore erasing Voyager out of existence in his universe or something.
Huh. Yeah, like, I know, like, Brannon Braga and Ronald D. Moore were, like, friends and co-executive producers on Voyager.
Uh-huh.
But, like, they had some sort of big falling out that I don't know I've ever heard any explanation for, and Moore left Star Trek after that. So that's when he goes off to found his own empire of Battlestar Galactica or something. I don't know.
Right. Huh. Interesting. So I thought that was fun, just seeing that I was like, oh, Ronald D. Moore wrote this episode. And I was just reading about that the other day. And it kind of makes me want to check out For All Mankind, which I'm sure someone in the comments will be like, oh, it's a great show, you should check it out. So
okay, see, now I'm reading about this moment from For All Mankind. The scene set in 2003. There were already more than 3 Star Trek series: the original series, the animated series, the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise. No one counts the animated series,
right?
So, Moore spoke with Inverse in 2021 and explained that in For All Mankind timeline, he considered The Wrath of Khan the first Star Trek movie, and then Star Trek Phase 2. I'm sorry, and then Star Trek Phase 2. So I guess Phase 2 is the second Star Trek movie in...
Well, isn't Star Trek Phase 2 was like the planned like spin-off or like follow-up series for the Star Trek series, wasn't it?
Oh, okay, hold on.
I'm not an expert on this, but I think I've heard of this before. I
like that this article's like, The Wrath of Khan is based on the Star Trek TV series now referred to as the original series. Just to make sure that everyone is clear on what we're talking about here.
So, what we've learned from this, then, is that Ronald D. Moore has thought long and hard about what Star Trek is like in this alternate universe.
Yeah, it's very important. Oh, let's see. For All Mankind's timeline doesn't reflect everything that happened in reality. For instance, the reboot of Battlestar Galactica didn't exist, and the 9/11 incident wasn't featured.
So they've specifically said in For All Mankind that Battlestar Galactica does not exist. Or the reboot.
The reboot. Somehow I don't understand how that works exactly, but that's what this says at least.
So was there a line where someone was like, I liked Battlestar Galactica, the one show
bring that back.
that aired in the 80s and never had a reboot?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, interesting.
I mean, there was Battlestar or Galactica 1980 or whatever in the real world too. So
yeah, which was the Battlestar Galactica on Earth or whatever.
Let's see. One thing I find claims that when they started making Voyager, Ronald D. Moore wanted to make a show with continuity instead of basically resetting at the end of every episode. Sure. And Brannon Braga did not agree with that, so Ronald D. Moore went and made Battlestar Galactica to do what he wanted.
Okay. I mean, it has continuity in that, like, at the end of every episode, they're like, we got 6 light years closer to Earth because of that magic wizard that we helped or whatever.
We got 10 light years further away from Earth. Damn it.
Oh no, we're going to have to go around that dangerous looking Borg space. That's going to add more time, and so on. I'm still trying to get this, like, book, movie, TV catch-up segment figured out. Because a lot of podcasts do this stuff. It's like, what have you been watching lately? Or stuff like that. Because, I don't know. I don't know if people actually like that, but
I started reading 2 new book series this week,
oh wow.
trying to decide. Like, I was like, I'll read the first one of each and try to decide which one I like better. And then after that, I was like, maybe I'll try the second one of each and see. So there's the Alex Virus series of books, which feels very much like the Dresden Files, but British. And then there is a series of books. I don't know if I don't know what you'd even call it. It's like the Spook series, which starts with The Spook's Apprentice and then moves on to The Spook's Curse. Apparently, there was a movie based on at least the first book, and it was called Seventh Son, but I'm not familiar with the movie.
Like,
so
spook as in ghost?
Yes, because it's about these guys that deal, or a guy who deals with like ghosts and other supernatural things, and they call him the Spook.
Ah, okay. Like Spooky Mulder from the X-Files?
I guess, yeah. I mean, okay. It's more like medieval fantasy setting than X-Files, but yeah.
The nickname they kept trying to make stick to Mulder, but I never felt like it sounded like
no,
natural.
It sounds weird. It sounds very like elementary school.
Yeah. It's like, oh, are you the one they call Spooky Mulder? Yeah. So maybe 2 weeks from now when this episode goes up, people can give you their recommendation of which of those series is better.
Yeah. Vote in the comments below if you are familiar with either of those series.
But you haven't started that Sam Peckinpah biography I got you?
No, I finished that autobiography I was reading, and I was like, I've had enough nonfiction for a little bit because it was real depressing by and large. So right. I'm back on fiction for a little while, and I'm about to take this Disney cruise, and I was like, I like to have a physical book when I'm going on the cruise. Oh. So I thought about taking that, but I also got another book for Christmas from my sister who was like, hey, read this and let me know what you think. And I haven't started it yet, so I was like, I really should do that.
You have a sister?
Yeah, well, yes, I have a half sister that we didn't find out about until like a few years ago, and yeah, that was the first time I met her. Was she was stopping in town for Christmas to visit her mom, and she was like, "Hey, you guys want to meet up at my brother's house?" And so it was at a time when I was like in between picking up one set of kids and picking up the other set of kids from school. I had like a 20-minute window, so I managed to go by and meet her for the first time and say a few quick like hellos and stuff, and she gave me the book, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go.
So what book is it?
It is called The Housemaid. It's some sort of thriller.
Okay. Yeah, I've been on my James Elroy kick. I'm almost through the LA Quartet finally. So
yeah.
I read LA Confidential, which is insanely different from the movie.
I've never seen the movie, so
it's like there's a point about halfway through the movie where it stops trying to be anything like the book and just goes off in its completely own direction, which is fine. But like I was surprised that like all the best moments from the movie are not in the book, so I was like, huh.
Okay, so they added some good stuff to the movie, is what you're saying. Okay.
So some of the good scenes, and I started reading the new 372 pages We'll Never Get Back book.
Nice.
Because it's on Kindle, and I just signed up for the free Kindle subscription.
Yeah.
And it is a bafflingly bad book. Called Caleb's Dream, or Caleb's Dream. It is written by a person who has clearly read books before, but his it's just a truly crazy. It's sometimes you wonder, is he a native English speaker, or
what's how do you spell Caleb in this case?
Kaileb.
Okay. Caleb's Dream. I had to look this up because that sounded. Oh yeah, and there's 372 pages. Right. It's like the first result. All right.
Yeah, because they were talking about I guess one of their listeners found out about it somehow. Like he found the promotional material and he bought it, and he was clearly the only person who has ever read the book. Because it only has one purchase or something. and then it was so bad he like emailed the recommendation in, and it like only had one review on Goodreads from the author who gave it 4 out of 5 stars.
Wow. So the author is named Caleb,
right?
All right.
Yeah,
there is a. I assume that, you know, since debuting on that podcast, that more people have bought into it, because there is a 5-star review on Amazon stating that Caleb's dream may not make a lot of sense, but it never stops amazing the reader. From January 10th, 2024.
Right, yeah, I looked on Goodreads, and it seemed like the 372 pages, like, inspired wave of buying was starting to trickle in, so...
Well, I hope Caleb Varney appreciates that.
Right.
What is this? This is like 7 years after the book came out.
Yeah, if you've ever listened to that podcast, you know this is an effect they wonder about a lot, where it's like some author who's like, you know, has never sold a book before, and then suddenly, because like whenever they do a book, like I think thousands of people buy it, and so they always wonder, it's like, do these people notice that like suddenly they're getting this huge check for a bunch of people buying their books? Or
oh man, the picture of the author on Amazon is just wow. Okay.
Is it? I didn't notice.
This looks like a bad dating profile picture or something. I don't know.
I mean,
the description of him: I study ancient cultures, including ancient Egypt, Aztecs, and the Quechan people of the Andes. For the majority of the last 7 years, I've studied Spanish and have become quite proficient in its use.
Oh my gosh. Like,
good to know.
Yeah, so like the love interest character, who is referred to as the mistress.
Good.
Like apparently he's been ordered by his superiors to find a mistress. And he finds one, and I guess she's part Mexican or something. And she constantly is calling him senor. And it's constantly mentioned that she always wants some Mexican food with her dinner.
All right.
So it's like they go to a buffet, and then it's like she got some chicken and some. First of all, what they eat in their meals is constantly brought up for no reason. It's like she got some chicken and some whatever from the buffet, and her Mexican side came out, and she got some enchiladas too. I'm like, oh my gosh.
All right. So all this, I feel like you can't go to too many restaurants where you're like, I want your pasta, but also I need a couple tacos on there.
Right? What kind of buffet is this? And also it's like there's all these weird lines like, she had dressed so as to please me.
Nice.
And so yeah.
I love, he says the inspiration for this book did in fact come from a dream. And most of what it is came from what was around me or what I had an interest in. I didn't plan for it to have as much in it as it does, but sometimes things just happen. As I was writing, I began to make up a word here or there, and sooner rather than later, it culminated into my first book. If C.S. Lewis can get inspiration from a lamppost, why not a dream?
Yep. It's man, it's just it's a crazy book.
I'm not reading this, but this is, this is amazing.
It's clear that it's clear that he didn't have a plan for the book. Cuz at the beginning, like the main character just seems like your like average like high school student who's like about to discover all his powers or something.
Yeah.
And he's like nervous around girls. And then like a few pages later, he's like an ancient warrior master, and he's training his girlfriend on stuff. Oh, and also he has Wolverine claws.
Well, sure. As many normal teenagers do.
Right. It's like every couple of pages he brings up a new superpower, like amazing superpower that he has. Like he can fly, he can like I think shapeshift, he can stop time. And then just the hilarious one was when it turned out he had Wolverine claws, which have plasma, which keeps them sharp.
Oh, good.
Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, that's We'll just cut that. We're just gonna cut that out of every episode and make it its own like little outtake or something. Because episode's too long. But anyway, you have any final?